Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts, and I'm excited to introduce you to a new podcast series in partnership with Lord Fairfax Community College. Having provided higher education and career training for the past half-century, LFCC is tightly interwoven into the fabric of the Northern Shenandoah Valley and Piedmont regions. Join me every week for conversations with current and former students to hear their funny and inspiring stories as we learn about their journey to higher education, the role that LFCC has played, where they are now, and where they plan to go. We'll also talk to current and former professors about their experiences and best memories of LFCC over the past 50 years. Get every single episode as they're released on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for LFCC Stories. Hello and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Friday as you are listening to the show today. You have made it through another week. We are midway through February. Before you know it, the flowers will be popping up out of the ground, the air will be warmer, and all of this godforsaken snow will be gone and nothing but a memory. So happy Friday to everybody as you're listening. Of course, we have pre-recorded our conversation on the Zoom screen. We have a return guest on the Zoom with us today. Bonnie Zampino is on the Zoom with me. She is the Workforce Services Director for the Northern region of the Virginia Career Works. Did I get that right, Bonnie?
I think so. It doesn't fit on a business card, so it doesn't really matter.
It took up 2 lines when I scribbled it down on my notes, so I was hoping that I got it right.
You were perfect.
And we are also going to be talking in a minute or two with Kristy Powers. She is with Navy Federal Credit Union. She is their Vice President of Winchester Operations. And Bonnie, we're going to talk about an information session that you guys are partnering together to offer for a hiring that Navy Federal is going to do. Before we get into the weeds on that, tell me about Virginia Career Works. What do you guys do there?
Yeah, so Virginia Career Works is a conglomeration or a partnership of 5 state entities. And so we have our part, which is all about job training and work readiness. So we, in my part of Virginia Career Works, we work with people who are unemployed or underemployed, and we help them get the training that they need to be able to go and obtain sustainable employment. And that's really just a big part of moving our community forward, is getting people into jobs and careers that provide a sustainable living. And so that's what we focus on here, but we also work under the same umbrella with the Virginia Employment Commission, which is right now very busy processing unemployment claims. And then we partner as well with Adult Basic Education. They work with people who might still need to get their GED, or they might need some ESL help. And all of these are things helping people get into employment. We also work with DARS, the Division of Aging and Rehabilitative Services. So individuals who have various exceptionalities and challenges can get employment-related help and assistance through DARS. And then our final partner is the Department of Social Services, particularly their VIEW program and their TANF program, which really, again, focus on getting people into sustainable employment. And so in the process of what we do, we partner with a lot of employers in the area, obviously, because we're working with the job seekers, getting them trained up and ready for the jobs that the employers in our community are desperate to fill. So we were really excited to talk with Navy Federal and their team about some wonderful initiatives that they're doing around hiring. And so this really has been a partnership with my part of Virginia Career Works, with the veterans portion of the VEC. They do a lot as well around working to get people into jobs, and with Navy Federal and their team. So it's been really interesting because there are a lot of employers right now really struggling to find employees. And there are not as many people as you would think looking for jobs right now. And I know in the middle of the pandemic, we kind of think there's this pool of unemployed people that are, desperate to go to work. We're finding that really what we're looking at are individuals who probably are working. They might be working real entry level, minimum wage jobs. And they're so busy sometimes working more than one of those to try to just make ends meet. And they do that day in and day out, and they never really stop and think that they could probably do something more with a more sustainable wage, with benefits, with schedule hours. And so I think a lot of our conversations with employers and job seekers right now is about how do we work with those individuals who are in that ALICE part of the population, that asset limited population, and get them ready to move into a career as opposed to these jobs that are maybe sort of paying the bills. So I think Navy Federal is a perfect example of the kind of industry that's here in the area, that's looking for people, that offers amazing benefits, amazing salaries, amazing opportunity for advancement. And one of the things that I think really sets them apart is that they work in an office environment. Most of what we have here in our region is manufacturing and distribution, and they're wonderful jobs that do pay well, but they have challenging shifts. They often require, being on your feet on a concrete floor for 12 hours a day. And sometimes people get to the point in their life where they just physically can't do that anymore. And so Navy Federal offers a different kind of work environment that I think is very appealing to a lot of people. And we're just really excited to see how our work with job seekers can really come together with their search for those job seekers to really be a matchmaker.
Well, and Kristy, Bonnie brings up a good point, because I think a lot of times we do think, when you think about job training and you think about all of these things to move up in your career, you do think in our area about these manufacturing companies. You don't think about being able to get a really good office job that isn't just an office job. You could go further up the chain. Navy Federal checks all of those boxes.
Absolutely. I'll tell you even just my own story. I was a bartender, I was a waitress, I worked in retail, and my first office job was working in a call center. And I worked my way up from there, so much like what Navy Federal offers to potential employees that come in our door. I was a member service representative, and then I was a supervisor, then I was a manager and a director. Then I began to serve on our board for the Premier Contact Center Industry Association. And that was just as a young kid starting out. So Navy Federal offers the same thing to people in our area. You can come to us right out of high school, right out of college. You can come to us later in life and have a good, sustainable career and move up and progress.
So tell me about Navy Federal. What happens in those big buildings up there on the hill?
Sure. Well, we've been around almost 90 years. We are the world's largest credit union, yet we feel like a small family. So we have in our building in Winchester about 2,200 employees that are based right out of Winchester. Some of them are in the office right now, and some are teleworking. We have a balance of both, of course, with the pandemic. And then we think that after the pandemic, people are really enjoying telework. And so that's going to offer good balance for people to be able to potentially do a little bit of both. So we serve about 10 million members. and we have 10 different departments. So we have our contact center, which is what we're hiring for with this upcoming event. We have about 300 open positions that we're hiring for. And we're looking for people, with a heart of service. So we are very much focused on serving with compassion, putting our members first, and championing our community. And so whether you're in the contact center taking phone calls from members who just need a little bit of help, especially during this time, or if you come to us to work in our IT department or the president's office or lending, people with mortgage experience. So we do a lot of things up there on the hill. Of course, we have that beautiful new big building too, right? That we just completed last year. And we started out with only 60 employees in Winchester.
See, I thought you were much smaller in the early days, and it seems like you really have grown with the community.
We have, and we are so grateful to be in this community. I mean, if you look at people like Virginia Career Works, for example, and how they're helping companies like ours find good employees, the economic development in our area, how much outreach there is in the community, which we're a big part of, and our employees really, really take to heart. It's been incredible just to see how well we've been able to expand because of the quality of people in this area that want to come work for Navy Federal.
Well, and it's interesting too, because I know or would assume that if I come and apply for a job at Navy Federal, you're going to train me for the particular job that you have hired me to do. But sometimes there is that pre-training that needs to happen before I even make that application to you. And I'm sure that's a huge part of that partnership that you have with Virginia Career Works.
It is, and that's what the event's going to be focused on. And so we'll be giving resume tips. We'll be talking to people a little bit about our culture. So we're going to spend about 2 hours together with the people who come and join our session. And, in addition to resume tips and culture, people will be able to ask us questions. Navy Federal is a wonderful place to work. I've been here almost 10 years, and I wouldn't want to work anywhere else. When people come in the door, we have world-class training programs that have won all kinds of crazy awards. We are, Fortune 100 top employers to work for. So when you come in with heart, right? Because your mama has to teach you that. Come in with heart and a heart to serve, and we'll take it from there and help you be the best that you can be at every stage in your career. I think about some of the friends that I have made within our organization and people who've been there longer than I have. And you make friends with people and they're your friends for 10, 15, 30, 40 years. The project manager who works on my team, she's been with Navy Federal for 36 years.
Wow.
That's a long time. And she's young. So she started right out of just barely out of high school. She started, and she has lifetime friendships. She's got a lifetime career, a lot of institutional knowledge that just can't be replaced. And, I know sometimes when you're young, it's hard to think about going to a big company and retirement and benefits and all of these things, right? They just seem so far away. But to start at 20 years old and to think that by the time you're 40, you've been at a company for 20 years, have built up a 401k and retirement, Navy Federal's, potentially paid for your education, your bachelor's, your master's, what else could you want? All we ask in exchange is that you care about our members and that you hold our mission to heart and take care of our members and take care of each other.
Well, I tell you what, let's take a quick break. When we come back, can you kind of give me a sneak peek into what that info session's going to look like, how people can get registered for it, and kind of maybe explain to people who are listening that if they don't think, oh, this isn't for me, oh yeah, it might actually be for you. Can we talk about all that in the next segment?
That sounds great.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation on the Zoom screen today. We are on the Zoom with Bonnie Zampino. She is the Workforce Services Director of the Northern Region for Virginia Career Works. Joining her is Kristy Powers. She is Vice President of Winchester Operations at Navy Federal Credit Union. We're going to be back in just a couple of minutes.
Got a financial decision to make or a goal to reach, but you don't know where to start? You've come to the right place. Introducing Quick Money Chats with the Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program. Visit tinyurl.com/Quick Money Chat to schedule a virtual chat with a staff member or trained volunteer. We won't tell you what to do, but we will give you the tools you need to choose wisely. And because Virginia Cooperative Extension is part of Virginia Tech and Virginia State, your land-grant universities, you can be sure that our information is credible and trustworthy. And you'll know that we aren't trying to sell you something. Maybe you want to improve your credit score, or reduce your banking overdraft fees, or even figure out if you can afford to buy that car. Sorting through tons of information on the internet can be overwhelming, and sometimes it can be hard to know who to trust. Schedule a quick money chat and get the information you need to take action. Go to tinyurl.com/quickmoneychat and get financial education personalized for you.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Friday as you are listening to the show today. We, of course, have pre-recorded our conversation on the Zoom screen. I am staring at the lovely faces of Bonnie Zampino. She is the Workforce Services Director for the Northern Region of Virginia CareerWorks. Joining her is Kristy Powers. She is the Vice President of Winchester Operations at Navy Federal Credit Union. They've got an information session that is coming up next Wednesday, the 17th from 2 to 4. Bonnie, give me the details for this information session. How can people get registered? It's a virtual event, isn't it?
It is a virtual event, which is fabulous because you don't have to leave your couch if you don't want to. And we can host up to 1,000 people. So I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity. So as you said, Wednesday, the 17th from 2 to 4. It's going to be through Zoom, and you do need to register. It's hard to give out a big Zoom link verbally, so I know we'll have it posted a couple of places, but the easiest way to find it right now is through Facebook. If you go to Virginia CareerWorks Shenandoah, then you can find that link. We're going to be pinning at the top of our Facebook page, and just click on that link and register that way. And it's going to be, the first hour will be an opportunity for the team from Navy Federal to really share about the company, the culture, the jobs, the pay, the benefits, all of the amazing opportunities that are being offered. And then the second hour is going to be an opportunity for questions and answers. So that'll be moderated by my team. So people will put their questions in the chat box. They don't have to talk. They don't have to be heard by 1,000 people. They can just type their question, and then my team will be sharing those questions with the team from Navy Federal so they can answer those. And we really hope it's very engaging, and that people feel comfortable to just put forward any questions they might have. I know in the process of putting this together, I had a lot of questions about, do you have to have a certain credit score? Are there maybe misdemeanor offenses that could be in someone's background that would keep them from being a good fit? What kind of shifts do you have? What's the dress code? So there's no question that is too little to ask, and there's no question that's too big to ask. So we'll make it as easy for everybody as possible to get their questions answered. And when they're finished, at the end of that on the 17th, people will have a really good idea of how to apply, where to apply, and what to expect from the process. Because this wasn't a situation where we wanted to do a virtual job fair, because you're not going to walk out of that with a job offer, because there's a lot of steps you have to go through. And people, I think, sometimes get a little intimidated. It's a bank. What does that mean? And so this will give people a really clear timeline of what to do, when to do it, what to expect next. And then they'll be able to start that application process.
And Kristy, I would imagine there are a lot of misconceptions about Navy Federal Credit Union that you're probably going to address in that first hour. I know that people talk about it being a place that once you're there, you don't leave. You kind of touched on that a little bit too, that 36 years later, and one of your colleagues is still there and perfectly happy. But I think people feel like, well, you can't get in. It's hard to get in the door to a place that nobody ever leaves from. And that's not at all the case, obviously, because you're going to be hiring 300 new people.
Yes, 300 new people. And here's the thing, right? We are choosy. You are hand selected to come, but we want you. If you're good and have a heart for service, please come because we want you to join Navy Federal. We want you to serve our members. We want you to be a good colleague to the rest of the employees that we have. Our culture is very important to us. And, as we look at when we expanded from 60 people to over 2,200 people, and we have room to expand for more, this region offers the exact kind of people that we want. So even if you think, oh, I could never get into Navy Federal, or I'm intimidated by maybe what the kind of job it is, please come to the information session. Hear what we have to say, listen in, learn some tips, work with Virginia Career Works. There's a lot of opportunities and paths to come into Navy Federal. And if you're good, we definitely want you.
Well, and it's interesting. During the break, we were having a conversation and we were talking about the fact that so many people, especially us women, will disqualify ourselves before we even take that first step. And that is not what you should be doing in this case, because it is a low key information session. You're not committing to anything by registering and signing up any more than Navy Federal is committing to necessarily hiring you. But you can't make any kind of a good decision without good information.
That's right. And the thing is that in this virtual environment, you could be in your slippers. We won't even know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you can sit with your puppy on the couch in your slippers and listen in and ask all of the questions you want to ask. Sometimes I'll look at the Facebook pages and the next door pages within our region, and I constantly see people saying, who's hiring in our area? I'm looking for a job. Who's hiring? And I'm like, we are. Navy Federal's always hiring. You might not be able to find us tucked in back there by the airport, but we're there. And yes, we have our branches in Winchester, but then we also have, this whole operations center.
Well, and I love that you have mentioned this several times about having heart, because I think sometimes we also disqualify ourselves because maybe we don't have a high school diploma, or we don't have a college degree, or we don't feel like we are professionally qualified for something. But if you have that genuine need to want to help people and you're friendly and never met a stranger, there are other qualifications that would suit a job for you at Navy Federal that maybe don't require you having to pass a particular test.
That's right. You don't need a college degree to work at Navy Federal. You don't. If you want one, we have tuition reimbursement available, and we make it easy for you. We have partnerships with the local colleges and universities to make it easy for you to get your education, but you can come right out of high school. You can come mid-career. You don't have to have any particular degrees or certificates to be able to join us. And then later, if you want to earn those, we'll help you do that.
Well, and I mentioned earlier about getting a foot in the door. These 300 initial jobs that you guys are looking for are in your call center. But that doesn't mean if somebody comes in and they ultimately apply and get hired for the call center, you mentioned this earlier, that's where they would stay. You have other opportunities within the company to move to different departments.
We sure do. And I'll tell you, there's no better way to get your foot in the door than being a member service representative. Here's why. It's a tough job, right? In the beginning, because you are learning a lot of things. You're taking a lot of information in. You're giving a lot of information out. But by the time you master that role, you're ready because you have learned about every department within the credit union. You've learned what's important to our members, what stresses them out, what makes them really happy. And so you are well positioned to take on another role. I was mentioning before, that's how I started out, right? That's how a lot of my colleagues started out. There's no better training ground than being member facing within a financial institution, because it prepares you for any other role that becomes available.
And Bonnie, what happens if somebody registers, they come that day, they sit through the information session, and at the end they're like, I would love to work at Navy Federal, or they are like, this just isn't my thing. I'm not ready for that yet. Are you going to be able to help them with whatever they are ready for in that next step?
Absolutely. So that's the wonderful thing about this partnership, is that there will be people who feel exactly like you just said, that I'm not ready. I don't maybe know how to format a resume the way that I need to, or maybe I haven't interviewed in forever, or maybe that's just not for me. We at Virginia Career Works are the other side of this. So if you need interview help, that's what Virginia Career Works does. We'll teach you how to interview. We'll help you put together a resume. We'll get you into classes for keyboarding or computers if you need that. If you need to learn customer service, we can help you with that. We have a free clothes closet here. Maybe you worked in a job where you wore steel-toed boots and a uniform. We have clothes that would be available that would be much more appropriate for jeans and sneakers, or khakis and wingtips, or whatever it is. And if it's someone who thinks, I don't think I would be happy in a call center tied to a headset all day, I think I'd rather drive a truck, we will help get you into training to become a CDL driver. So there's so many options, and there's so many resources that are here to help walk you through this process, whichever it is, whether it's getting you ready to interview with Navy Federal, or whether it's working in some other direction. Virginia Career Works is here, and we are ready to help.
Kristy, I love that you've partnered with them, because it really does show that side of Navy Federal, that you're interested in the whole person. And if somebody comes to that info session and realizes Navy Federal isn't for them, you're perfectly content knowing that Navy Federal has still set them on a path to finding what is right for them.
Our values really include not just our employees and our members, but our community. And so the more that we can all raise people up in our community, the more successful we're all going to be. And, the work that Virginia Career Works does is really, really incredible. I think back to, when I was just starting out in my own career, right? And you need some guidance sometimes, someone to help you prepare for an interview, someone to tell you what's good to wear for work, someone to help you in all aspects of that. And to think that Virginia Career Works can offer so many of those resources, what an incredible, incredible add to our community.
Well, and Bonnie, I will add to what Kristy just said and just say that all of the things that we've talked about today, from interviewing skills to keyboarding to etiquette to clothing, all of that has a fix. It all has a solution. It can all be taught. It can all be learned. So Absolutely. Again, don't disqualify yourself because you think you can't, because you can.
Absolutely, you can. And I know from prior live experience in a call center that if you were a server in a restaurant, you probably are going to be amazing on that phone. If you were retail and you were helping people at a cash register, you're probably going to be amazing working with those customers. And I think that's what Kristy means by heart. If you serve people and you've been good doing that, and you've been happy doing that, and you've made your customers happy doing that, we'll help you figure out your resume. We'll help you figure out your interview. But those skills, those are things that are intrinsic in a person. If you've got that, you would probably be a great fit at Navy Federal.
You're already qualified and don't even realize it.
Absolutely.
So we have to wrap up. Tell me again, Bonnie, where on your Facebook page can people go get information to register for the Zoom information session?
Yes. So go to Virginia Career Works Shenandoah Valley region, and we should have that pinned to the top of our page, and it'd be easy to find. Then you just click on the link and you register for the information session.
And that's really simple through Zoom. I mean, you literally, I think, put your first name, your last name, your email address, and then Zoom automatically sends you back and says you're registered. Click this link on the 17th at 2:00. And there you are. You don't have to turn your camera on, or you can turn your camera on and have a fancy scarf on over your pajamas, which I will point out I did not do today. I actually got dressed for this interview, though normally that's what happens. It's a fancy scarf every day, and people don't know that my pajamas have coffee cups on them.
That's right. Yes, it's just the best way to do it. And I actually registered because I wanted to go through the process, and it was as easy as you said. I filled out a couple fields, and I got my confirmation email. So, and again, I think the opportunity to ask questions without having to turn your camera on or turn your microphone on, you can just type it in the chat box, and we'll ask it for you. And we're really excited.
Well, I will put the link to the Zoom, to your Facebook, to Navy Federal. All of that is in the show notes page. So if you are listening now live on the air, you can go to theriver953.com, click the podcast tab, and it's there. If you're listening later in the podcast, you've already seen the podcast page with all of the links there. Thank you both so much for coming and giving me the details on this. I'm excited to hear how it goes.
Thank you so much, Janet. I'm really excited. Thank you, Bonnie. You're such a good partner to Navy Federal. We really appreciate you.
Well, we're really excited to be on this journey with you guys, Kristy, and Janet. Is always so much fun talking to you.
I will be back on Monday. I will have a brand new episode of The Valley Today ready to go for you. Have a great Valentine's Day. I will be snuggling up with the puppies this weekend, I'm sure. Probably the husband, too, if he's nice and brings me chocolate. So there you go, honey. If you're listening right now, bring me chocolate. I'll meet you back here on Monday. Have a great weekend.